everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. What's happening? You guys know this woman. This is Relatable Reese. And if you're brand new to the lifeboat, maybe you haven't seen Reese over here before, but most of you are probably coming from Reese's channel, where we joke around a lot. We spend an awful lot of time joking around. And one of the reasons is because Reese has kind of been interviewed to death concerning Scientology. But during a conversation we had the other day, I said, there's a lot of questions that I wish other people had asked you. And we sort of started down that rabbit hole. And I think it's something that might be fun. What do you think, Reese?
I love the idea.
Okay.
And, I actually disagree with you. I don't think I've been interviewed to death. I hardly talk about Scientology. So
I just meant that all the good ones have done it. I guess that's what I meant. I guess I meant all the good interviewers have already done this, but
not yet, because you haven't done it yet. I think this will be
a nice thing to say.
I think I was saying on my channel earlier, I think I'm most excited about this one, Tommy, because I'm so comfortable with you, and we typically kind of joke around a lot and are silly, and I kind of like this idea of us deep diving into unknown territory.
I like the idea that we started out silly, because I think it's going to make this easier. Now I think 99.9% of people who watch either of our shows probably have a pretty decent idea of. I don't want to rehash a lot of stuff that most people know, but if you could give the 2-minute. That's about all the background I think that we need on the. I want to ask questions a lot less about the chronological. Give us a little 2-minute history of your upbringing, and then I'm ready to roll.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Scientology, guys. I'm 39 now, so I was in Scientology until I was 38. I was raised by my father. My mother left when I was 6. And she chose not to be a Scientologist. Therefore, I was not allowed to see her. So I saw her a couple of times, but I did not see my mother again until I was 18. I have a sister that is 4 years older, and we were in what's called the cadet org at the age of 7. So I was taken out of school and put into the Scientology Sea Organization for Children in Clearwater, Florida. My father was extremely serious and heavy about Scientology, practicing it all the time. I've had thousands of hours around the clock with the workings of Scientology and just how serious he took it. And then I practiced it as an adult. I was taken out of school 9th grade and recruited to be on staff at the church in Kansas City. And I was on staff for 2 years. And then I, as an adult, continued and donated a lot of money and married a Scientologist. And my whole life has been Scientology. When you're a Scientologist, I was saying this on a podcast I did yesterday, your dentist is a Scientologist, your plumber is a Scientologist. You're very surrounded. It's by design that you are carefully not to associate with anyone in the outside world. So everybody I knew was a Scientologist, and that's really the only kind of people you trust. So I've been out for 1 year and 3 months now, and it's quite the change just living life now and not having to live by those rules, and raising a child outside of it now and not practicing. And I go to therapy, which is huge as a Scientologist. Therapy is like the worst thing you can't even really talk about the word therapy. So I do that now, and that has made a huge difference. It really helps me with my son, with myself, and unlearning, unpacking, not practicing anymore. So I have a YouTube channel, and that's just kind of been my journey. And the goal is to talk about healing, talk about things that are safe to talk about. And we've grown quite a few people who've, come to us, and we have a lot of friends and family now who I'm really proud of that, because it's a safe place and we can talk about anything and there's no shame there. I mean, I'm incredibly embarrassed daily I'm trying not to use the word dumb anymore, but I'm switching to the word naive for everyone. I'm very embarrassed daily by the things that I don't know. I always say I thought Philadelphia was a state. I know nothing about geography. I just basic stuff. There's a lot of things I don't know, and it's embarrassing, but I share it all the time. I don't hide anything
I love
about it.
that.
It's
I
things
love that.
like
I love that you share that, honestly, because that's how you heal through anything. But I'm jumping off of the order that I wanted to do this in because of what you just said. Oddly enough, Scoville, almost all of the Scoville women in my let me rephrase that. All of the Scoville women in my family are teachers, right? And they're educators. Like they've dedicated their entire lives to this. It's something that is a passion with all people in my family. My mother, who has been a teacher for, if I told anybody how long, I might be beat at a later date, right? But she has been teaching longer than she claims she's been on this planet. And she's fascinated because so often Aaron, a lot of other people will say, I'm uneducated, I grew up in a cult. And I threw out, I said, hey, I'm doing an interview tonight. I said to Johnny, you got any questions you want to throw at her? I said to my mother, you got any?
I got to pause you for a minute, Tommy. Everybody's saying your mic is not on.
My mic is not on?
I hate it. I hate cutting you off because I was really into what you were saying, but they're saying they can't hear you. They say you're very quiet.
Well, isn't that something? Because my mic is on. Tell you what, we cranked it. I hope that that better. We get a 5x5. Oh, see, and everyone else is saying I hear him. You know what it is? Sadly. Yeah. What it is that every once in a while, for real, they just know that if they can get Tommy to stop talking about whatever he was talking about, that he's never going to get back to it. Honest. Okay. Sadly.
Okay, well, let's go back to that because I'm really
Tell me what it was because I was really loving it.
Okay, I know I was too. It's about everybody in your family being teachers, and then us saying
so Scoville. So Moscow. I said to the family, I said, you know what, I'm doing an interview tonight, and everyone who's ever interviewed anybody in Scientology, I didn't necessarily mean you, but second gens. There's a bazillion interviews out there with every second gen, and questions tend to get recycled, and for obvious reasons. You got to kind of go with the assumption that the people who are listening may not have heard, other things, but my mother is fascinated by the fact that you say things like, you're uneducated. You do not sound even remotely uneducated. Now, I'm a public speaker, right, by training. And I said the same thing, right? Now a teacher has said the same thing. And I hear this from a lot of people. And I think what you mean is your education was different. But Scoville's question was this. Without formal education, how did you develop the communication skills that you have? Because damn, you sound like you've been to college to most educators. So there may be some stuff on geography or whatever, but where did the other half of the education come from? If there was nothing there, how do you get that? I know that like autodidactic, right? Like self-taught, but how does this take place?
If she really did say that, I just want to tell her thank you. That's a really kind thing to say.
I don't lie.
Well, I don't mean it like I'm not implying that you lied. I just mean if that really was a question from her, I appreciate that, and I think that's really sweet.
Really
and I think she sounds adorable. I would say Scientology does a lot. I've from as early as I can remember doing training on communication. Drilling all the time. And so I'm sure, right? Like I would guess you learn how to acknowledge, you learn how to, the cycle of communication in Scientology is what we're taught. There's so many different training routines. That's what they call TRs that you go through and to really become a well-rounded communicator. Now, I don't know that I would honestly say, I'm just trying to think of all my training and, the person going, do birds fly? Yes. Good. I'll give you that again. Do birds fly? I mean, how is that making it? I mean, I know a lot of Scientologists that are not good communicators, and we all did the same thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So I don't know that it comes from that. I think it has maybe to do with the fact that I've always been very interested in people. I love talking to people. So it may just come from that. I have no back off or fear on, communicating with people. I like to hear people's stories and where they came from. So maybe, Tommy, it just comes from that, just being truly curious and interested in conversations. I'm very social.
Right. The you said at ninth grade there was a change. So what was what was your education to ninth grade? Because I was jotting this down. You said at ninth grade you left. Take me back through that again.
I was recruited after completing ninth grade. I just completed ninth grade in the summer. I was recruited to go down to the church. I was born and raised in Omaha. I'm from Omaha. Kansas City is a 3-hour drive. So I was recruited to go down. My father bought me a big package to go do a bunch of auditing and training that summer. And the intention was for me to complete all of that package and go back to school. And while I was there, my dad stayed in Omaha, and the people I stayed with were on staff and recruited me for staff. And I was 13. I was turning 14. My birthday is July 8th, so that was right in the middle of it. I was turning 14.
This is another thing that I know that on others have talked about, the fact that Scientologists believe that you're a fully formed adult. Yeah. You're, as a Thetan, you're not a child.
Yes, there are no kids. They're just big beings in small bodies.
And this is one of the things that, and I'm bringing this up because it was brought up recently. I don't want to rehash the guy and bring up any of that, right? But you were in a relationship early on with a guy that was considerably older than you, right? He
was 24.
14?
I was 14. He was 24.
Right. Inside the Sea Org, this was considered completely normal as hell, right? There was nothing unusual about this, right? This is considered.
Well, it's considered normal because we are all the same age. It's believed that we are all 76 trillion years old. So yes, to answer that question, yes, it's nobody's treated as a child. You do not. I mean, that's pretty offensive to treat someone like they're a child.
All right. I got a question for you. When they say to you, so we're gonna pull you out of school and we're gonna bring you down to the cadet org, what goes through a ninth grader's mind when that happens?
Well, hold on. You're kind of confused. Let me explain to you. I was pulled out of school when I was 7 and put into the cadet org. Okay.
Oh, I got you. Sorry.
So I was pulled out of public school when I was 7 and shipped to Clearwater from Omaha with my father and my sister. We all joined the Sea Org. Okay. And that's the biggest organization in Scientology. Okay. So I was pulled out of after 9th grade when I was turning 14. I was put on staff at the regular, we call it the org, the organization. I was put on staff at the Kansas City Church org. So 2 different things. The cadet org was when I was 7. That was way different than being on staff.
Right. So when you were on staff, were you living on premises or were you going home?
Going home to Omaha?
No, I mean, there's free staff and then there's people who live there, correct? There's staff that show up.
Yeah, so the Sea Org, that's what I mean. It's totally a different thing. The Sea Org has like birthing where they all live. It's usually like 10 to 12 to a room.
Almost, yeah.
Yes, totally different situation. Staff, you're going home. Yeah, you have an apartment. You have a home. You work about 16 hours a day and then you go home.
Excellent. That's what I was trying for. So, because I find this fascinating. There is so much talk about disconnection, right? For really obvious reasons. And we'll touch on just how bad the disconnection was and how fast. But before we do that, I think very often we don't have a clue what connection looks like, right? Because as people who have never been in this, I got a pretty good idea what connection looks like to me and the people that I live in and the world that I live in. What was it like before disconnection? I have a tough time wrapping my brain. Like you said, you go to the dentist, you're going to a dentist who's a Scientologist, right? You go here, you're going. So you're in this, you got a foot in both worlds, but you're not really in the same world that we're in out here, are you?
Oh, God,
did you know anybody that wasn't a Scientologist?
No, not adult. I mean, when I went to public school, of course, teachers, things like that, but I had no existence in school. I mean, I went to school and then I went home and studied Scientology. My dad had me drilling Scientology all hours of the day outside of school.
So connection was just the people within. I mean, you were disconnected from the rest of the world, but connected to every Scientologist.
Absolutely.
You follow my
That was the
question?
only, yes, that's the only safe place. You know, we're told as Scientologists, the outside world is not a safe place, and you do not trust non-Scientologists.
This has always fascinated me. If we're not trustable, how do you convert us? You follow me? Like how does the process of saddling up to somebody that is dangerous as hell? I know that you start with the come take the personality test, but it
You
is
find their ruin. You find what's called their ruin. Like, I'm married now, and it's very frowned upon to be a Scientologist and get married to a non-Scientologist. It's highly frowned upon. And it was no different there when I got married. And I was told many times, like, as long as we switch him and he becomes one and he's got the money, they check all into that. But the first thing you do is, see, I think the reason is you have kids and they're born and raised. It's so much easier, right? So when you find somebody that isn't, and you got to convert somebody like Jeff, who's a Methodist, you find what's called their ruin. And so when you go to take that personality test, or you sit down and do the test on the e-meter, that's what they're doing. And what their ruin is, let's just say someone says, well, they get you talking, and they say, well, so, think of a moment, you're on the meter and they're teaching you what the needle's doing. And they go, think of a time, that maybe you were really sad. They're just trying to keep it light. And somebody may say, well, I lost a child. And then they really dig their claws into that, and they get you to cry, and they get you to be upset, and then they get you to back up on, back to present time. And then they go, now that's what we can do for you. That's just a slight, they get you feeling better about it after your good cry. It's pretty sick. And that's what they do. And so when I married Jeff, they were like, we gotta get his ruin. You need to get his deepest ruin. What is that ruin? I mean, they were telling me to do that.
that is it's just so sick and bizarre to me. And at the time, it feels completely normal, right? This doesn't feel like.
That's all I knew.
All right. So your job when you were working at the org, what were you doing?
I was in the section of the organization that's basically, Aaron calls it the HR division because it's easier to put it that way. It was the division that had to do with ethics, people getting in trouble. It's a higher, tier. Not just anybody can be in it. It's called HCO, the Hubbard Communications Office.
Okay. I've said many times on the boat, and I've said it on your channel, that I don't get judged by second gens. It's a very odd thing. When they find out I'm a bank robber, there's nothing to that. And I think that there's a synergy of some sort. And I think part of it is because we kind of have escaped, right, from something. We kind of were incarcerated. I think there's something similar to that. Believe it or not, there are times I miss it. As bizarre as that might sound to everybody in the real world, there are days that there will be something about that hellhole that I was inside of that I think, you know what? As crazy as that sounds, do you ever miss any of it?
Just the people.
Because you'll joke from time to time and say, my Scientology was really hanging out. Take yesterday, for instance, right? Did it feel like you were back in there and flexing a little?
Oh, yeah.
Did it feel good?
No.
Okay.
I always disagreed with so many things I saw. And one of them was the screaming, the yelling, the force, the throwing things, the physical, just harming people. I never thought it was right. The racism, everybody is told in Scientology to hate gay people. I always disagreed with all those things. So there's not a lot that I miss. And when my Scientology, is showing, I say it jokingly, but I'm super ashamed.
Right. One of the things that freaks me out is I spent a whole lot of time as a criminal, right? And I'm not comparing the two, but I'm comparing two lifestyles that are so different from one another. It's insane. The life that I lived prior to, the age of 46, I really, really had a very, very drastic change. And I remember waking up on the 27th of June and going, holy shit, my entire life has been a waste, right? Everything that I've done up to this point, I got to throw out the window today and start from scratch. Now, it had to be a lot easier for a bank robber to say that. What was it like, right? That moment where you go, holy crap, literally everything I've built my entire life on is horse crap.
Well, that was the hardest part for me. I don't do depression that I'm aware of. I mean, I don't, if I feel super sad about something, it lasts a day or two and then I kind of pull myself out of it. It's just not natural. It's not a place for me to hang around in. And that was the hardest part. That was when I was outed and lost, close to about 500 people in 24 hours that I'd known since I was born. That was probably the darkest time for me. I could not, I had never experienced not being able to get out of bed, for instance, or just being super tired, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to take care of my son. Like I just had a really dark time of this isn't going to get better and super, super low. It was a really hard time for me.
And up until that point, right? Do they not sort of beat a doctrine that if something crappy is happening, you brought it into yourself? So with all of this happening at that time, is that something? I mean, how do you go from
100%.
believing that? How do you go from believing that if I stubbed my toe, it's because I somehow brought that into me, to then having your world explode without you going, oh, this is all my fault, right?
Well, I just did that up to like 2 months ago. I mean, that's why I go to therapy. Every time I was just saying this in therapy, this is so new for me. When something bad happens now, whether it be, a relationship go bad or something physical, like you injure yourself or get sick, just up till like maybe 10 weeks ago, I find myself, I slammed my finger in a drawer in the kitchen the other day. And typically I would go, God, what did I do? I'd start racking my brain. What did I do? Like, did I do something to myself? Did I lie? So I don't do that anymore. And I was so excited when I realized that day, I was like, oh my God, I broke that habit. I don't do it anymore. I don't even think about it.
How about the tone scale? Right? Isn't there a thing called the tone scale?
I don't use it anymore.
No, but I mean, so I'll give you an example, right? I get in the car and the first thing I do is I check to see if there's anything around me that looks like it might be painted in black and white, because for so long in my life, I broke the law. So when I get into a car, before I put the key in it, I look around for cops, and I'm probably going to do it for the rest of my life. I got pulled over twice since not being a criminal. And when the cop pulled up the second time, I would check this out. And I put my hand up and showed him. He's like, what's wrong? I said, I've been a criminal my whole life. I'm terrified that you're here. There's nothing in my car illegal. You can search it. I'm completely clean. I'm terrified because I spent my whole life trained. You follow me? How difficult is it to say, okay, you know what? That doesn't work. This doesn't work. All of these things. I mean, you were trained, right? For a really long time.
Yes. The only difference between you and me there, I actually feel bad for what you just said. I don't have those environmental reminders anymore. I am not associated with anything in Scientology. So I don't get pulled over and you know what I mean? I'm not close to it. The closest I got was I went to, Flag recently. I went to Clearwater, as you know, you were there. And I went to, that was hard, but right like a week or two before that, I went to the Kansas City org. I went down there and stood in front of it and I couldn't stop shaking. I mean, it was just really kind of traumatic for me. And I was so scared. I mean, I was just like barely able to make it up to the pavement. I was so scared because that's close to home for me. If somebody were to walk out of that building, I'm going to know who they are. Those 500 people that disconnected from me are all in Kansas City. So when I get close like that, like you explained with your example, that's when I, feel it. But lucky for me, I am totally detached. There's nothing in my environment anymore, which is a good thing, right? It helps me to heal faster.
I'm glad you brought up the org visits, right? Because I've watched the first one that you did. I watched the Kansas City one, and then I happened to be there for one of the days that you were down in Florida. I was there for both the days you were down there in Florida, or two of the three, something like that. You're different than other people while you're out there, and if anybody paid attention, right? I'm not telling you anything that you didn't see if you were watching it. You're different. Your reaction to people is different, and I'm fascinated by it. Do you know what I'm talking about, or do I need to highlight why you're different?
Yeah, I don't. I'm waiting for you to explain what you mean.
Okay. I understand that the confrontational thing is really kind of catching on, and it's a bit hot. And you would go up and talk to these people, but it was like, I don't know that respect is the word that I want to, because I'm not saying that everyone else is disrespectful. What I'm saying is, like, the person that had the clear shirt on, you were excited for this person, right? You really were.
Oh,
you were
yeah.
fired up. If somebody had just watched this from the side, they would have thought maybe you were in, right? It was, you didn't want to bust this person down. He was living the best day of his life.
He thought I was a Scientologist. I told him I'm excited for you to attest to the state of clear. He knew.
Different. It was certainly very
Maybe
different
it's
than anything
different
else I
because
ever saw.
I'm the newest one that's out.
Maybe.
I definitely don't want to hurt anybody, though. Like, that's
Maybe
not my
that's it.
intention. I don't want to hound anybody. I think Scientologists are great people. I miss them.
Oh, that was a question I was going to get to. I can't imagine what that's like, and I'm not trying to bum anyone out, but I had to disconnect from my kids. I could call them, but I had to disconnect from my kids because of a divorce, and I was a criminal, right, which didn't help either. But I can't imagine how this is explained. How do you talk to Hux about this when it happens? I mean, honest to God, how do you say the people that have been in your life are now gone? How do you make someone understand
that? He was 13 when this all happened. I mean, it was a year ago, and I really tried to shield Huxley from Scientology as much as I possibly could. I really tried to make up every excuse I could as far as, people constantly were trying to get me to bring him in for services. And I would just go, we just really want to respect. And there's a thing in Scientology that you call personal integrity. It's an actual reference that L. Ron Hubbard wrote. And so it kind of means something different than it does in the real world. And it's kind of something you can kind of stand firm on. And so I would use that and go, we just want him to use his own personal integrity and, have his own choice on it. And trust me, we're really pushing it at home, but we want him to reach. We really want him to reach. Like, I would just, string it along as best as I could. And it worked. Until it didn't. And all these people were in his life. Huxley knew these people, whether he did services or not. It was still our life. And when I was finally accidentally outed by Aaron, he asked me to do an interview with him after that happened. Once everything hit the fan and it was found out, it was overnight. I mean, when he flashed my name up, those people were gone. And I think a couple of months went by and Aaron kept kind of calling me and saying, hey, I'd love to interview you. Like, now that, it's out and you think about it, no pressure. And I really had to think about it. And that was the time I took to kind of share more details with Huxley about what actually happened. He didn't know all of it. I kept that from him. I don't know how well I don't know how many times you've seen Huxley, but he is super, super mature. And he's always been, I've always said this, he's like a 50-year-old man. Since he was like 5 years old, getting ready for kindergarten, he gets up at like 5 a.m. He eats his own breakfast. He's very regimented. He's not your average kid. And he's always been somebody I kind of lean on for things. I mean, he's very smart. He's very intelligent. He thinks things through. He's not reactive. So to answer your question, it's kind of dragging it out, but I came to him the day before the interview. I told Aaron, I called him and I said, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to talk about it. And first I went to Huxley and I told him everything that happened. I told him about the underage sexual activity that went on. It was some heavy stuff that I really shared with him. And I said, what do you think? Like, we've lost everybody. You know, I before I do this interview, I want your opinion on it. And he said, he said, do you, I think you're really smart to do this, Mom. He said, but I want you to think of something. Because I said, I don't know if I should do it, Hux. And he said, you were 14? And I said, yeah. And he said, would you want that to be happening to a 14-year-old girl right now? And I said, no. And he said, then you should do it because it might help somebody. And I said, sold. You convinced me. I'll do it. I said, absolutely.
Yeah, that would have done it for me too.
But he is so, he thinks of other people first, so much like that. And he said, if you can help one person, he was like, I think you should do it. It will expose, he said, how horrible. He said, I didn't know that story. And he said, it will really maybe help. He said, even one person. And so he said, you kind of have to do it.
Wow. Yeah. He just gained a lot of fans on the lifeboat, whose motto is, we were only hoping to help sex. Right? That's really a beautiful thing. And
he has really struggled losing our family. You know, nobody said goodbye to us. And that was not something he was willing to put up with. Thank you, Spanx. I love Spanx. He took it into his own hands to deal with the family that left us. And I thought that was really brave of him. So Huxley has dealt with this pretty head on, but Tommy, it's been really hard. It's like 500 deaths. I mean, we never heard, there was no goodbye, nothing. These people just left.
Well, I hope everybody is pissed off. Seriously. Because sometimes this stuff comes off as entertainment because it's just how it happens. You know what I mean? But what they're doing to people is absolutely the sickest crap on planet Earth. And you know what? I walked by, I told this story, man, but I knew how sick these people were 25 years ago, and I cracked jokes about it. My kid was 3 when Emmett was in my house, an OT8, and we used to do business together, and my kid was 3 and he's 31. And you know what? I should have freaked out all those years ago. And if you know what's going on, if you eat at La Poubelle, right? If you watch what's going on with the LA cops or anything else, man, for real, this is a bunch of scumbags. I'm so glad that you're here telling this because I don't know how many people would do a better job. Reese, you have been an encouragement to me. I have had a family member recently disconnected from me. I can't even imagine what she went through. Stand proud, Reese. Love that.
Thanks, Mary Jones. I love Mary Jones. Thank you, gal.
I do too. I have a question for you. So when I was growing up, my dad was a huge dude. He's like 6'4", but the world's biggest softie. And love was something that we talked about an awful lot in my house, right? Growing up, it was just something that we spent a ton of time talking about. And very often it was tied to faith, not over the top, but certainly there were things. How is the love thing explained? Like within the Scientology thing, because I'll be honest, to those of us from the outside who hear about a parent that says, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, that blows us away. It's something, the disconnect thing, we go, the love of a child would be impossible to do that, right? The love of a grandchild would be impossible to do that. So for the uninitiated, it's really bizarre. How is the love thing explained?
Well, I mean, love is conditional, first of all. So it's based on your achievements climbing up the bridge in Scientology. So it's not based on you were born and I just love you until the end of time because you're mine and you were born. It has to be earned based on, your training and what you choose to do. And if you pull away from Scientology, you're loved less. So I think it's just based on your I mean, I can tell, I don't, first of all, I just want to say, I don't speak for, I know there's a lot of other Scientologists with channels. I am not giving those experiences to them. These are my experiences. I don't like doing these interviews and I go, well, we're told. I mean, I was told. That doesn't, that doesn't necessarily mean other people were raised this way. I think my dad was particularly hateful of his children. And I think there are other parents that were not. So my dad, I can't recall a time my dad ever even touched me as far as like a hug. I mean, he was physical when he was angry, but he never touched me like to hug me. He never said, I love you girls. So the love thing, I don't know what you mean. My mom left when I was 6 and I think I did a live on this once. My therapist said to me, do you hug people? And I was like, what kind of a question? And he said, hugging is extremely powerful. Like, and I said, no, I don't hug people. And he said, were you hugged as a child? And I said, have we not met? I mean, how many sessions have we had? No, I was not touched at all. And he said that's really interesting because kids need that. And he talked about some study that was done, like monkeys with like soft cloth around a wire, something like that. And then the monkeys that were not, and the difference in how they were. And he said, so hugging is actually like a very powerful, important thing. So the love, to answer your question, no, there was not that. My father was fairly disgusted most of the time with us. And I can't remember before 4, but all I remember is my dad just setting us in chairs, my sister and I doing the training routines in the kitchen. And he was livid mad. And if I screwed up, it was flunk. And he was like, start. Like he was just very rigid. And I don't think there was any love. There was a lot of fear.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in that chair. I was talking about this yesterday. There's certain things I forgot about until I start talking about it. And then I remember.
Sure.
And I was sitting in that chair and I remember being 4 or 5, but my sister would have been 9 or 10. And he would get so angry and scream and yell if we didn't do it right, if we weren't applying it correctly. And Scientology also has a totally separate language. So it's like it's truly a different language. You switch languages. He would use that language. And at the age of 4 or 5, I had no idea what those words meant. I didn't know what they meant. And so I would misapply the routine we were doing. And he would tell me to do it in that language. And I didn't know what it meant. And I remember just like, I was so freaked out. Like I was just like, he was like, you're doing it wrong and start. Like he would just scream. And I would just try so hard not to cry. And my sister was like, don't cry. Like it was so intimidating. And so there was no love. There was no love.
Sorry. Why aren't more people clamoring to get out? Can I take a shot at this one?
Why what?
I'm sorry. This question. Why aren't more people clamoring to get out? I worked in a prison, and I ran the kitchen. I had a slightly higher education than most of the people there, so they stuck me in charge. And I would come home halfway through lunch when lockdown is everywhere. Every unit's locked down. And I would walk up to my unit and there would be 65 guys waiting on the outside of the unit to walk in. I would walk up, pull the door open and walk in. And the 65 guys would follow me in because I hadn't been there long enough to realize that it was okay to go up and put your hand on the door and pull on it. Right. But they would stand at an open door because they are so beat down that they will not walk through a door that someone doesn't tell them they can walk through. And this is what happens to people over a long enough period of time, especially like prison. At least there's nobody literally torturing you mentally to try to encourage that behavior. In theory, that should not be happening in prison. I mean, there's some of it, but the cults are so fantastic at what they do. And if you find one that's 20 years old, trust and believe they've got it to a science. Right. You find one that has endured the crap this one has. I think a lot of people would love to get out, but sometimes the devil that you know, right? Imagine spending your whole life, like Reese just said, imagine spending your whole life being taught that people like me and you and everybody else are terrifying. They want to hook you up to electroshock machines, right? They want to do these horrific things, which, by the way, they showed you videos of. They're sneaky as shit. And I've seen the personality test. It's pretty damn innocuous, but boy, you give up a lot of information, right? It's I'm sorry, Reese. I thought I would get less emotional than you. Sorry, I really am. The aftermath is what really started this, correct? You eventually saw the aftermath. Walk me through the realization of what that was like as you're watching this and starting to put this together and going, oh my God.
The Aftermath
Right,
was a show, guys, on Netflix. And it was a show, I can't remember what year it came out, but Scientologists, it's a very serious thing to look in any direction on social media, or like Google, anything like that. So just to preface that, like, you are not, and if you're, I was saying this yesterday, if you're a seasoned Scientologist, you don't even want to. You can get in trouble for standing in a grocery store reading a headline on the National Enquirer. Like, you are not interested, because once you learn that you do that, you are put in so many hours. I mean, it is like a flashlight on your face of what's called security checking. And you're put on a meter. And I mean, I'm talking hours of, it's torture. I'm telling you, I've had a lot of it, and you got to pay for it too. It's on your dime. And I want to say it's like 800 to 1,000 an hour. I mean, it is incredibly expensive. So the Aftermath show came out. I am still a Scientologist. Okay. I'm the only one in my family besides my father that remained a Scientologist. My mother got out of Scientology, as I said earlier. My sister joined the Sea Org at 14 and left and never went back to Scientology. So those two had been out for a long time. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm married and I'm in a heavy Scientology family, and I'm heavily into Scientology. My mother and my sister live in Nashville. I go to Nashville every summer to visit. Okay. Every summer for, I think, 2 years, maybe 3, they begged me to watch this show. I mean, like, cornered me. And it really upset me, because I already looked at them as sort of enemy territory, because they're not Scientologists. And we only hang out with Scientologists. So I'm kind of already trained and prepared by the church when I go. Like, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to report what you hear. You're going to stay in line, and when I get back, they put me on the cans and say, so what did they say? What did they do? So I'm already like, la, 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 la. I don't want to hear anything, So these 2 years in a row that I go, they're like, please, 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 let us just put one episode on. Let us just show you one. And I would say, I'm going to change my ticket. I'm going home. I cannot listen to this. I can't listen to this. And I'm going to get in so much trouble for this conversation. So I never did. And I had a friend in Kansas City when I bought this house, and I had just resigned from my job, and I was on the phone with her and unpacking. And she said, I don't know a lot about your background. I know some things. But she said, I did watch that show, and just like a friend to a friend, she said, you might want to just see if you can stomach one episode. And I said, I don't want to hear this sad crap about, I was told by the church, like, oh, it's just a bunch of, sob victim stories, these poor people. And the church would tell me, okay, Reese, but like, think about it. You could find ex-Catholics. You could find people who were Jewish that are no longer. Disgruntled people are going to say things, right, that they don't mean, that aren't true, right? To smear it. That's how I was sold on it. So I said that to my friend. I said, I already have my own sad stories. I don't care about people smearing the truth. So anyway, the point is, I did watch one. I watched one episode, and it was of a girl who's actually up and coming. And I went to her fundraiser last week. Her name is Miriam. I'm doing a show with her Saturday night at 7, actually. for the first time we're going to meet. So I watched hers, and I absolutely was under the impression all the things that didn't work on me, like all the things that happened to me, I was the only one. Like Scientology works, it just doesn't work on me, is always how I thought. That was my own, they didn't tell me that. It was just my own way of thinking. Like it just didn't work for me because I'm just a bad person, I guess. When I watched it, I could not stop crying. I watched the first episode and then I watched the next episode, and all I could think was like, oh my God, that happened to me. That happened to me.
Oh my God, that happened to me.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it just unraveled, and it was so, I couldn't unsee it. I could not stop crying. And I just thought, what do I do now? You cannot go obviously in and say, I watched this. Is this true? I can't go anywhere. I can't talk to anybody.
So you continue to go to work, right? And then you reach out to the Aftermath.
I reached out to the Aftermath Foundation.
Meet AA Ron.
Aaron Smith-Levin called me back, and we talked for about an hour and a half, and I felt really safe, and it felt so good to like voice my concerns. And I told him some of my story, and I said, I just want out. I just want to get out. How do I get out? How can I leave without, losing my family, losing everybody? And he said, I think that before you blow it all up and do that, let's see if we can help get others out. And I really liked that plan. And he said, why don't you give me all the information you have? Like, let's do that. And then maybe we can try to get people out in Kansas City. So I did that for about 6 months. And then, as you know, he was doing a live stream on a New Year's Eve. And I gave him a bunch of information about my mother-in-law, who's a 40-year staff member. And he accidentally flashed it up on the screen with my name on it. And they were watching, and it was over. I never talked to anybody again.
I hope everybody really gets an appreciation for that statement, because it comes out really, really quick. But I don't know if you can imagine what that's like. It's now, my friends were not quite like your friends, but I walked into a prison knowing a very, very large number of people, and fentanyl killed every single one of them but one while I was gone. Not being funny, they're all gone. And it was so bizarre to walk out and not have anybody left that I could have a conversation with. Right? Nobody, but I can't imagine knowing they were 500 yards away, or I could pick up a phone and call them and still not have the ability to communicate with anybody from my past. That's another thing that I can't imagine coming to grips with this. I really can't. And there is go ahead.
It's just funny you say that, because I always think my reaction was so weird when Aaron called me. He called me the next day to tell me what had happened. And he said, it flashed up so fast. I edited it out. He was like, I think we're in the clear. I think it's okay. It was a quarter of a second. And as much as I'm fairly a dramatic girl at times, I don't know if you knew, but as much as I would have expected to react to it, I didn't. It was so calming. I just said, if this is how I go, then this is how I go. And I hope this isn't it. But I said, okay. It was just really kind of a weird reaction for me.
I get that. I've had reactions like that in the past. For me, 3 days later, I would be going, I want him dead. Was there a period of time after that where you thought, oh, this is just not how I wanted this to end? Like, I would have rather maybe planned this a little different. I can't imagine, and I'm thinking just me, right? I'm not necessarily a good person, but I would have some animosity. I'm sure I would have gotten over it, but you weren't pissed at any point?
No, I wasn't pissed at all. No, I wasn't pissed at all. I was, I kept thinking, now I wish that I could have done this on my terms. I would have never done it. That's the point. I would have never, ever, ever talked about my story. I've never talked about any of this to a non-Scientologist. This story has never been shared. So even actually, well, I was going to say, I did share some details with Jeff years ago, and that was shocking even then. I remember telling him about Shane, which was the guy when I joined staff, and he said, that's statutory rape. And I said, no, it isn't. And he said,
Oh,
yes,
it
it
is.
is. And I said, no, because I consented. I said, no, he was my boyfriend. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. It was like, it didn't even occur to me. And he said, Reese, you cannot consent at 14. He was 24. That is absolutely no question. And I was like, no, not at all. So I don't know that I just never would have shared this story had Aaron not done what he did. So I tried to look at the bright side, and now I look at it as, you know, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And not because of me. Not because of me, because of my child.
Sure.
I don't care if I die tomorrow. My kid won't. I will never have to worry. I don't have to worry about him getting recruited into the Sea Org. I've always been terrified of that he's going to go into the Sea Org and I'm never going to see him again, or that they're just going to take him. And so I can't be mad. I just can't be mad. I can't find myself to be angry at all. It's such a gift. Damage has been done with me, but he was just at the beginning of stepping into being recruited, and it's over. And it's just, I'm serious. If I died tonight, it's like, I at least know Huxley's safe.
See, I saw an early interview you did where you were talking about how, this was your fault and it really is your fault. And I remember watching it and going, no. And the more I listened to it, the more that my takeaway from that was, man, if he didn't dox you by accident, you'd still be in. And I don't mean that with disrespect.
100%.
It's so hard to break out of a situation, even if the situation sucks, right? This is what I deal with every day, all day on this channel, right? People who are in situations that are the absolute, you would look at situations and go, boy, they're going to be excited to get out of that. And the truth is, we're always so afraid of what we don't know the next step is, that we'd rather just be stuck in what we know, because the devil, sometimes seems safer.
Right. And it answers that earlier person's question, like, why are people not clamoring to get out? I would have never left. It would have been worth it to me to stay and suffer, because otherwise the fear is I lose everybody. I lose everybody in my life. Where am I supposed to, how do I start? And it's not just losing everybody. I'm going to be kicked into the real world where it's scary and we're told it's not safe. I'm going to be exiled. So I would have never talked. Absolutely not. Never.
The break-in period to us people on the street, I was going to use the nickname that they give us, but I know it's a slur in another country. The us bags of uneducated skin that don't realize we're Thetans, right? We were always villainized from within the cult. So getting out and realizing that, number one, we're not the villains that you thought we were. How long did it take before you started to number one, realize that these people really are maybe not so bad, and before you started to be able to trust? Because I'm still not any good at that now.
Oh, I trust people just fine. 100% this channel has changed my life. It was no choice. I had no choice. These people completely surrounded me and showered me with so much love and decency. And I made friends immediately with people. And I think I started my channel like August 1st. And I think, for me, it was pretty instant, Tommy, but as summer started to come to a close, I really started to feel scared of what was to come with like the holidays. This would be our first holiday outside of Scientology, outside of our family. And my son's birthday is a week before Thanksgiving. And I had never had a Thanksgiving with Huxley before. This was my first Thanksgiving with him. They took him away every single year for it. I'd never had one. So, I was afraid of Christmas. I was afraid of what I was going to do for Thanksgiving and spend it with him, and then his birthday. And I just thought, I have to figure out a way to not be sad, to make this special. That was, I think, what really turned it around. The people on my channel made his birthday, I mean, it was just the gifts and the love and the support. And I mean, I got cards from people in Sweden, Portugal, all over the world. So it's impossible to go, these are bad people. I mean, it is the true definition of unconditional love. I've never felt it before. I have never been loved like that before.
Sorry. I long to be an old crusty guy, a crusty old guy for Reese. Me too. Apparently, I'm too young. That's what it is, right? I stopped dying to go to. You see what I'm doing here? I'm trying.
I asked you to do that.
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't worked yet, but I'm working on it. I'm absolutely working on it. I have a question for you. So, since you left, right, your channel took off faster than anyone's I've ever seen, for the record. Unless you're Justin Bieber, nobody hits 10,000 in 6 weeks. That's a beautiful thing, right? And you've built a pretty quick audience. You don't have an appreciation for how fast you do that, but the SPTV thing is a phenomenon, right? It absolutely is. It's a phenomenon. Where do you see yourself in this? And the reason I ask is, I've talked.
Where do you what? You cut out. Where do you what?
Yourself? Where do you see yourself in this fight? There are people that are very vocal about they want to take out this, they want to do that. Where do you see yourself in this? Do you want to even be fighting this thing?
In my own way. I don't like group think, because I was involved in a lot of group think. So I'm kind of into this new thing where I do my own thing, and I completely support what everybody's doing. That goes hand in hand. I support what they're doing, but I believe that everybody should be able, the thing about, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but for me, I have been censored. I have not been able to speak how I feel. And so having this channel, I'm going to do and say what I want to without being judged, or you really should be doing this. You're not really helping take down Scientology, or, you really shouldn't be a part of it because you're not really, you kind of talk about other things. I'm just, clearly I'm doing something right. And I'm just going to keep moving forward without, chihuahuas nipping at my heels. I think that the goal is of course, my goal is to take down Scientology, of course, but it's also to heal and to bring people together who have other stories that have nothing to do with Scientology, stories of abuse, anything in their past. And we come together. And I find that to be incredibly powerful just as much.
I love that. I love that. Patricia M says, when I first viewed your channel, I saw that you needed a change and that your journey would bring you to where you are now, blossoming into a radiant soul, helping others through humor and love. Love that.
Thank you, Patricia M. Thank you.
And you know what? I think that there's really something to this. I spend a lot of time talking to Reese. Not quite to the stalker level, but I spend a decent amount of time trying to reach out to Reese. And we talk about doing shows and things of this, but the connection thing is bizarre. It really is, until you get in the middle of it. And it was fun because I had talked to Reese prior to running into her in Florida, and she said, "No one knows who I am." And then watching Reese get out of the car where people know him, oh, everyone knew who you were. And it was wild to see the connection, because you know what? Reese was as excited to see the people that were in the audience as the audience was to see Reese. And you know what? You can't fake that. And you've heard me say things like, you meet people who are YouTubers and occasionally you go, oh, damn, they're just not what I thought they were going to be. And I've met a bunch of them, and 99% of them really are who you think they're going to be. But when they're not, it's a bummer. And I think you guys lose sight of the fact that, the people who are here every day talking to us, we kind of look at you the same way you look at us. Ooh, I love that. What a great comment. Nice.
Yeah, I love her. Thank you.
Yeah. Better together. I love that. I really do. I absolutely love that. So I don't know. I think I feel happy to hear that. I think that I've watched individuals, and not in this particular, but I've watched people who do what I do, who will get out of 35 or 40 years of addiction and live the exact same life for the next 25. They just don't do drugs, but they're in the life every day, and they're out there and they're fighting and they're fighting. And I think that's awesome. I'm fighting for that cause too. I just don't want it to define every single aspect of every minute of my day. I'd kind of like to maybe make up for some lost time and laugh a little, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Ripple, says Spanky. I like the
Yes.
ripple concept. I want to talk to you about sympathy, because this is something that I find unique with I've known a lot of Scientologists, right? A bunch. I knew a bunch of Scientologists before meeting AA Ron, right? This is going to sound awful, right? But they tend to run in the same kind of scammy businesses that I was doing for a long period of my life. So there was a bunch of them. And they can be incredibly sympathetic people. But my experience is that they've been very sympathetic within their organization, and sometimes brutally not so much to people who are outside. Did you find yourself struggling with that when you left? You understand what I'm saying? The screw them, they have no idea what suffering is phenomenon.
Yeah, I'm kind of tracking. I'm not really tracking because I gave you a smile when you said sympathy, because sympathy is in the Dianetics book. It's highly touched on in Scientology. It is hugely detrimental to have any kind of sympathy, because it's bad for the reactive mind. So we are taught very young. I remember I think I was 6 and I got really sick. I had asthma really bad as a kid. And my dad would just get furious with us when we were sick. And it was just like, no rewards, no TV. Like it's sympathy comes, like, you have to purposefully be nasty when somebody's like, when you would apply sympathy, right, to a child who's very sick, you'd think you would be very comforting and sympathetic. And so the reason I'm confused by your question is, it is a no in Scientology to have sympathy. It's a serious word that is, you can't do it.
Okay. The reason I ask is this. I have heard 2 of the most vile things ever stated in my life out of ex-Scientologists in reference to people who are in some really tough situations. One person who said, after I wouldn't care if she unalived herself today. And I remember sitting there and going,
100%.
I'm sorry, what? Like I literally
100%.
was
I've done that.
And it
I'm
seems
guilty of that. I've said that.
It's a recurring theme, though. It's not just I see this very often. So, but I'm glad you're explaining this. So could you double back on that and explain to me what it is they say
Yeah,
that?
we don't we I say we because I'm still kind of stuck in this thinking.
I get it. No, that's cool.
We don't view death the same at all. It's very much viewed as getting out of one car and getting into another. There's nothing on death. So, yes, somebody unaliving themselves, it's like, okay, well, ta-ta. Yeah, do it. Go for it. Nobody feels anything about something like that. And I am guilty of that. My father was married after, when I was on staff. He came in to come on course to the Kansas City org, and they got divorced. She had 4 kids. She was an OT8. She died of breast cancer right before he was getting ready to go on course, right before roll call. Okay. It was 3:45 roll call. He gets off the phone. He goes, oh man, dang. And my mother-in-law was there, and she said, what, is everything all right? And he said, I just got a phone call that Kathy died. She dropped the body. And they were like, do you need a minute? Do we need to go do an assist? And he went, nah, she'll be all right. She's a good girl. It's zero. There's zero. I mean, it's cold to you, but it's very common in Scientology. If somebody loses a job, and has 5 kids to support, it's, well, you must have done something to pull that in. You need to go write up what you've done and get started again. It is, you're not allowed to be sick. You're not allowed to, die and be sad. I mean, I have been to countless Scientology funerals. No crying,
Right.
no tears. That is common. So,
Yeah, the gentleman that I worked one-on-one with, I've talked to you about many times. His father unalived himself with a handgun, and I picked him up from him cleaning, and I didn't realize this at the time, but I picked him up from him cleaning the place he had just inherited, which still had dad all over it. And he came out like throwing all the stuff out, and he had stuff all over him. I said, "What is that?" And he went, "My dad's brains." And he said it like you would say somebody spilled some, some soda in the kitchen or whatever. I went, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He blew his head out in the kitchen. He's like, "But I got the condo." And I remember just going, like, it was the most bizarre thing to me because I had, my dad and I, my dad was my best man at my wedding. So, and I just said, "Dude, you're not bummed out?" He's like, "Nah, not even slightly." And he was very, very, I said, "Did you guys have a crap relationship?" He's like, "Nah, he's all right." But I remember being blown away by it. And my friends going, "Yeah, he's part of his religion is that's part of who he is."
well, and I just want to say that's horrible. I'm not condoning that. That's horrible, but I get it. One, just coming from where I came from, but this is kind of stems back to Tommy. I hope that you can connect this and understand. Joe Virus, you finally figured it out, brother. I'm proud of you. I want you to understand something, and really, I want everybody to understand this. From the age of 4, sitting in that kitchen, shaking, freaked out, start, flunk. The whole purpose of that is to desensitize. We are training to be auditors. Auditors are not allowed to have any emotion. They are to be the highest trained beings on the planet. They are to have no reactions to anything. We are to be ready. Some auditors who were doing their trainings in Kansas City would go to the most wicked haunted houses around Halloween just as to go through and not have a reaction to anything. So like people jumping out at you, grabbing you. And it was a training to go flunk if you react at all. You have to have no emotion, but be in full present time. So we are training countless hours for that for our whole lives. So when you think about that, there's no emotion. What is that? My dad's brain matter. It'd be all right. I got the condo. What happened? My wife just died. She's a good girl. She'll be all right. I can't tell you how many. I mean, it just is what it is. And I think that's why now I cry all the effing time because I don't use my training anymore. And I feel more than I've ever felt. My emotions are so much more amplified now. I react to everything. So it's probably not a good thing. And I'm sure people are like, whoa, girl, reel it in, dial it back. But I sometimes can't help it.
I think there's probably a decent amount of the audience here that may understand that for other reasons. My maternal grandmother, I was closer to her than anybody on planet Earth. I didn't go to her funeral though because it would have required me going without dope, and that was not something that I could do at that point in my life. It was not. I mean, it was not even. There was never a discussion. It was just, sorry, I would love to be able to, but there's no, I can't travel, and that was just one of those things, and drugs do that too. I mean, they really do. They cut you off so much from the ability to feel anything, that the same thing happens once you break away from that and the control that has been the prison that has been, of your own making. When that's all gone, then all of those emotions that you haven't had in 25 years bubble to the surface. And I cry at a good, Walmart commercial. I'm done.
I would too, but I don't watch TV. But yeah, no, I feel very sensitive to things now that for so long. I mean, I've been to a lot of Scientology funerals. I've witnessed a lot of deaths. It's just not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Have you ever gone back and watched any of your really early stuff?
Never.
No? I think you should sometime.
Yeah.
I really think you should sometime.
I just don't.
you've really come a really, really long way in a horrifically short period of time. I have been out, right, 3 years, and I had 5 years head start before I left, right, knowing I was leaving to get my life in order mentally, to work on all of the things that I needed that I didn't get. Hey, you're out, right? I had a very, very long time, and these 3 years have been amazingly hard, right? And I've had a lot of advantages that you simply didn't have, right? The whole bye-bye, right? That I can't imagine that. I really can't. If they had kicked me out, if they, 6 months early and said, "Hey, you're out of here," I probably would have gone straight back, because I had to have. It's just a really. It's why 90% of people end up back in prison, is because the devil, right? The place you knew, as bad as it is, it was something you understood, and they took care of you. As bad as it is, you didn't have to worry about anything, right? Yeah, you might have to fight, you might have to do this, but you didn't have to worry about paying bills. You don't have to worry about doing any of these things, and it's insane. But I watched guys who said, "I'm going to go out and do something immediately to get back in."
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by people who stay in. I'm surprised by people who get out. And that's
Definitely.
cults, that's drugs, that's crime, that's anything. I've always said it takes a miracle. It really does. It takes an absolute miracle. One of the most emotional things I've seen since I started doing YouTube was watching you when George was filming you in front of the building in Flag. Want to walk us through that? I stayed away, which was really a hard thing to do because but
So there was a gentleman who I knew that he had just attested to the state of clear, which is a large step on the bridge in Scientology. It's a step that you have to get to in order to get to the OT levels. He looked really happy. He had his clear certificate, and he was outside the church. And I knew what was going on based on just how he, presented himself. And I congratulated him, and he looked so excited. And I'm not clear, but I've seen a million people attest to clear. I know what a big deal it is. It's a really big deal. It's something very to be celebrated. And I was happy for him. And I felt very connected. We looked at each other. He knew that I knew what he meant, what was going on. And I think it just felt good to say something to him that was meaningful. And he just seemed, I could tell, I'm good at looking at people. I could tell that he was probably such a nice person. And
yeah,
and they came out and got him immediately and took him up the stairs. And the Sea Org guy said something to the guy that just attested to clear. And the guy turned around one last time and looked at me in like fear, like whatever he had said to him was, I'm a total enemy. I'm a suppressive person. And I don't know what happened there, Tommy, but it was so instant. But I think both of our hearts broke a little bit. I think the guy was shocked because he saw me, he appreciated it, and he trusted me in that moment. And what he was told was, I think, it's just so not what he felt.
Foreign. Didn't make any sense. It's not what he saw.
Right. And just, I think after he was taken in and the door closed, and I felt I will never, it was weird to be on the other side of that door. It was weird to know I can't go in there. It was weird to say, I'm not allowed to go in and celebrate with him, or I'm not allowed to go in and see my family in there. And so all my life I've been told about people being declared and the people who aren't allowed through the door, but I never thought I would be one of them. And it was very scary in that moment to watch. It was almost like I just felt like they were like, how did he get out of his cage? Get in here, put him back in his cage. It was just, and it was sadness that I couldn't go in, but it was so much relief that I'm out. I'm free. Nobody's coming out to whisk me in here and, scream at me for, talking to a suppressive person. I can do what I want. And it was just all kind of came down on me at once. And I thought, this is hard. It's a weird feeling of I'm sad that I can't go in, but I'm so happy that I'm out.
You wanna hear what a never in saw? That cat saw pure joy in your face because there was nothing else. You weren't, I'm not busting, I'll get hate mail for this, but you weren't auditing, you weren't doing anything, you weren't busting anybody's chops. He saw, no lie, I'm so happy for you, pure joy in your
And
face.
I was.
And then had someone tell him that you were a dirtbag. And I saw the look on his face of confusion. You know what I mean? Like it was non sequitur. This was not adding up at all.
Yeah.
And it was painful. It really was. It was a horrific moment. I actually gave Reese a hug when that was over because it just was. I think it broke the heart of everybody that was watching, at least on this side of the friggin' door. And I know at least one person on that side was hurting because the look on that guy's face was, he was confused and he wasn't happy.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really hard. Now I will say, I've been asked to go protest since then. And I've said it's not my thing. I just don't think it's my thing. And I don't want to put myself in danger. I don't know how to defend myself. I don't want to wind up arrested or like trapped, to where they do arrest me or something like that. But at the same time, what I did, I don't regret. And that's what, if I did go protest, that's what I would do. I would make the connections that I can make and just keep it very real. I don't want to stand there and shout at people, I really appreciate and enjoyed the connection I made with that man.
Right. We went out to eat and for those who have never, if you've never gone out with Reese, we went out to or we were heading to eat and Reese went and asked 9 people questions in the course of about 2 blocks. Asked one couple for directions, asked another group of women about what the best restaurants were in town were. Are they walking distances and that? You connect with every single person that walks by you. For real. It's something to watch.
I love doing
it
that.
really is. I know, but most people don't. See, this is another thing that you just assume everybody does. Nobody does. It's another one of these things that you do that's wizardry. There's nobody that you walk up to. We went to the coffee place. It was the same thing in Starbucks. I just sort of sat back and marveled watching it. And I marvel watching it because I know a grip of Scientologists and none of them are like that.
Yeah,
So
again, I just assume that it's so weird. It sounds stupid to say or like a fake answer, but it's the truth. I assume everybody does that.
Yeah.
I don't have friends, Tommy. I don't hang out with people. I just assume everybody does that.
I'm not a friend.
I haven't had friends.
That's better. That's better. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Get it. Look at those paddles, you guys.
Look at that little hand. Look at that little hand.
It's crazy.
Sorry. No, honestly, I hope that someday we could do that again. Truthfully, I would like to walk around and do it differently. I would like to walk around, make the filming a little less obvious, and I would like to see someone that really understands everything that those people are doing, talk to them as a human being. Because if you talk to them as a human being and you're not yelling and you're not doing any of that, when they separate you and tell that person you're Satan, they might just go, hey, she didn't look like Satan. If you're screaming at them, maybe you do look like Satan, right? But if you have a big smile on your face and you say, congratulations, I promise you the cat at the top of that stairs didn't think you were Satan. Sorry. What did you think of people jumping out of the bushes? Sorry, I thought we needed some comic relief.
I was confused by that. I found it entertaining. I didn't know what to think. But I even talked to those guys. You
did?
I just wasn't aware of what was going on there. They weren't Scientologists. I don't know. There was a Willie Nelson concert, so I just assumed like They were either
They were
getting
roadies.
down to Pound Town or okay. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't until later, but apparently they do what my kid does for a living, which gives me a warm and fuzzy that maybe in the future Spanky will be jumping out of bushes, making me proud. No, I'm kidding.
It's a
He was
great
working
career.
tonight. You know what? This is a good point. It's okay not to protest. Don't let anybody pressure you just because you're on YouTube. Most former Scientologists are not out there protesting. It's pretty scary facing your abuser, especially so soon. And you know what? What a great way to put that, Amy Lee. God, it is so scary facing your abuser. That would be that very large building on both sides of the country and all of the smaller ones along the way, right? The abuser is more than the person that hit you with a fax machine, or the person who had sex with you when you were a child. That entire cult is the abusers. And as far as I saw in a interview you did once where someone said, would you like the person prosecuted or whatever? And I've heard you talk about this and seeing the person and whatever. I think we look at things sometimes through really weird lenses. That had to be normal. I realize it's not, but that had to be normal. Like, you didn't think at any point during any of that what you were doing was odd, correct? Like, this was something that until you got out, or at 14, did you think 24, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Or did you think I'm an adult, he's an adult?
I was smoking. No, I didn't think anything was wrong with that. To be honest, I still don't in many ways. I just saw him for the first time since I was 16, 2 weeks ago. And
go ahead, I'm sorry. How long ago?
I just saw him for the first time since I was 16. I saw him 2 weeks ago in Seattle. I don't hold anything against him because he's the only one that helped. I mean, I had to go to a hospital after I was hit and choked and all of that by Dan, and nobody would take me. I was asking people. I said, I need medical help. And they were like, you can go F yourself. You're destroying this organization. I was peeing blood. He's the only one that took me to a hospital, and I don't know what would have happened. So I don't hold anything against him. And I think he was probably just as messed up as, he was in that way of thinking as well. I remember it very clearly. I was with that guy for 2 years. It wasn't like we slept with each other once and, he was my boyfriend. So he took care of me. He was protective, and I don't have any. Yeah, sure. He was 24. I mean, my kid is 14 now. If something like that were happening, I would burn everything to the ground and I would be in prison the rest of my life.
Well, and in if he had not been in the church, he probably would. In the cult, he probably would be as well. I got probation for being with a girl that was 1 year younger than I was before I was 18. How's that? So you would be shocked how that's punished in some states. I wasn't even 18, so it is possible, but that's a big age gap. It really is. But I think, because I've heard people go off, he ought to be in. People, we look at things sometimes through lenses that we have no clue what we're looking through. You understand that in there, they're both too full, like actuated. And I'm not giving this cat a pass but the cult is who's to blame, right? This is a doctrine that's so effed up that it allowed everything else, right? All of these other really horrific things that happened because there isn't a legal, right? The legal department is within the cult, and that's terrifying, right?
That's correct.
Terrifying.
Yeah, because I mean, I actually did have somebody come and do something sexually to me that I did not welcome. It was against my will. It was terrifying, and he was like almost 50 when I was 16.
Oh,
and
God.
I was terrified, and it happened when I was on staff, and I reported it within the church, and I got in huge trouble for that. So he's right, guys. I mean, there's no, it's not like they're going to take it to the police. Now they should, because they're mandated reporters, they're ministers, but they didn't. And it was horrible. It was horrible. So I guess the reason I don't hold anything against Shane is he was I didn't feel like it was against my will. This individual who came into my office when I was working at the org flipped me around at a filing cabinet and just like shoved me really hard and was groping me, grabbing me. I was trying to push him off of me and I couldn't get him off of me. That's a different situation. And that was wrong.
No question. No question. The question has come up a couple of times, and every time it has, they were curious of how what kind of affection did you show Hugs as a kid, because of how much different it was for you. They know that he didn't go off into Sea Org, but they were curious about that the affections along the way.
Not a lot. I have always made it a point with words. So verbally, I've always said, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. You know, I've always made a point because my dad never did that. And that's something that I always wished he had done. I think I would have been a much more confident woman growing up. I think it would have shaped me more if somebody would have said like, hey, I love you. I'm really proud of you. There was no foundation there. Now, but physically, I did not show a lot of affection to Huxley just because, like my therapist said, do you hug? And I was like, no. He said, do you hug your son? And I was like, I mean, sometimes, birthdays maybe. I don't know. I'm not real touchy. And I didn't even realize that I don't touch him. Like it wasn't really a thought until we talked about it in therapy. So now I do. I make a point to hug him. It's kind of interesting because he's so much taller than me now. I mean, I'm like, wow, this is so weird because I didn't do this when he was little. But I've always made it a solid structure that like he knows he can always come to me. I mean, Huxley and I've always had more of a solid communication than anything. Not so much physical, but we talk about everything, and how you're always safe to come to me. I'm never going to yell at you or be mad at you. I just want to help you with the tools that you need for life,
right,
to shape who you're going to be as a man. But I hug him more now. It's just hasn't been the norm for me. I just haven't been a huggy person.
I don't know. I got a pretty good one. Yeah.
It was
without even having to bust out my fur coat, which not afraid to bust out, just for the record. Not afraid to. So you're officially, so you got doxxed on the 1st of January, right? New Year's Eve, rather.
Yeah.
But that's not. But the ship hit the sand officially when?
The next day.
Because I feel like there was no, because weren't there two? Oh no, the other celebration was the anniversary of your first Aaron thing. That's what it was. Correct? I feel like there were 2 anniversaries. I was at one. He was at the other. What was the other anniversary? Polar porn. There's really, that is always going to crack me up. I'm sorry. That's
wait till that cruise. You're really going to be in for a show.
Right.
You're going to be in for a show.
We're going to be the only 2 people in a fur coat on a cruise. I promise.
Hope so. I don't think there was another anniversary. Just the New Year's Eve thing.
Well, that's the one I did. Then you did one with Aaron recently. Must have been the 20,000 thing. Raise your hand if you've gotten a hug from Reese. Oh, I guess no one else. Oh no, Laura did.
I mean, I did a Fred anniversary. The thing with Aaron I did recently, we were going to talk about my trip to Seattle and Shane and all of that, but we really didn't get into it. He spent, most of the time we were talking about memberships and things. We really didn't get into what I was hoping to get into. Okay. I'm not really sure what we covered, honestly. It was just a bunch of silly nonsense.
It'll be the 13th of the month. Maybe that's what I was going for. 13th of this month for her first video. Thank you. Maybe that's what I was going for. I felt like we had a conversation, but you know how my brain is, I felt like we had a conversation about that. We may not have. It could have been somebody else. I'm not, Anniversary after your first interview with him. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. See, you have to come here to talk about the feelings. There you go. It's interesting because that's one of the questions that I am absolutely, of all of the things, I am most impressed, I think, aside from your YouTube stuff. And I've told you all about that. Tell me how you go from the doctrine that you grew up with to the I'm going to go get some counseling. Like, how the hell did that take place?
I mean, that's a good question. I think I was struggling so much and it was so not me. It was very out of character to not be able to get out of bed, to not make him dinner, to, I mean, I was totally out of my daily routine. I'd never been that depressed. And I think it almost makes me think of when I was doing drugs. When I got hooked on meth, I specifically remember I did it for a little over 2 years, and one morning I woke up and I had like the darkest my face was so sunk in. And I remember looking in the mirror and I just thought it was kind of the same thing. I thought, "I'm gonna die. This is gonna kill me. I look terrible. This is going to kill me. If I don't pull myself out of this, I don't have any other option. This is it, you know?" And so it was kind of the same. I just thought of that. It's very similar. I remember getting out of bed thinking there is no other option here. Like I'm just sinking every day. It's getting worse. I can't do that with a child. I have responsibilities. What do I do? And I just thought I need help. Who can help me? Okay, well, the person I'm married to can't. My mother can't. There are people who have tools that can, and I need those tools. And so I started researching it and just thought it's the same thing. I don't, there's no other, I either run out of air or I got to find a lifeline here.
How frightening was that first session? I mean,
Not at all.
did you feel like
I'm such
no?
a chatter. No, I was super excited.
No, I just meant they literally have told you people that this is the most evil SOBs on earth, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And we're gonna get electric shocked and drugged. And so I was at the end of my rope anyway. So I was like, let's just see what this is about. Now I remember my first session, like, I mean, it was just pop, 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 my typical self. And the
no,
person,
no.
the lady was like, she was like, I don't have to get anything out of you, do I? I was like,
How
what
did
else
that
can I
make
tell
you
you about the
feel?
third grade?
She's going. We're about 45 minutes.
I
over.
was like, is there a couch? Like, do we go to lunch and come back? What do we do? This is fun. No, I definitely had I was not nervous. I was actually, I think, so excited because I had the intuition. I had a feeling like this is the right thing. This is going to help me. Just go with it. You got no other choice. It was kind of like
Right.
quitting drugs.
And as Kristen said, nah, electroshock is way too expensive. And by the way,
Mm,
pain's not what they say it is anyway. Trust me.
yeah, I don't ever want to do that.
Miss
Though.
D, it was nice to meet you as well. Please be safe. Always nice. What has been you are literally at the 1 year mark, right? What has been and I'm sure you've heard this one, but I've never asked. What has been the biggest culture shock? To see you from when you started your first video to now, I swear to God, is like watching two different people. It's bizarre. In fact, watching you now from a month and a half ago is like watching two different people. It is so exciting to me. And I'm sure it is to all of your fans because I am a fan. But I think it's probably exciting to everybody to watch this take place live. I think that the reason that this channel is as popular as it is, yours, is because the world is literally watching you come into your own. And that's some stuff that doesn't happen very often. Lisa, are you suggesting I took notes? I am offended. I still love you, but I'm offended. I'll have
Tommy,
you know I was looking
that
at
is
a cat.
so nice of you to say. I feel the growth for sure. I don't go back and watch stuff, so maybe I should. Maybe I should. I talk to so many of these people privately. So, um, oh, Barbara. Well, I will say Clearwater really shook me. It motivated me in so many good ways. It made me want to do more stuff with Tommy because I had such a good time with him there. It just makes me want to connect with people more and more. I think the biggest shock, is people. I was pretty scared of the outside world. I have been told some very specific things as long as I can remember about who people are outside the doors of Scientology. And once I found that wasn't true, I have just embraced the hell out of it. I mean, ask the people who are in the chat right now who I've actually met in person. How many of you? I met so many of them, and they kind of, a couple of them went to hug me, and I think they were nervous maybe, and they went to let go, and I held them tighter and I said, "I'm not done. I'm not done." And it was just, I just feel so sure of myself now. I feel so like this is what I want to do. And I have been lied to for 38 years. I was lied to. And I feel like the blinders are off, and there's just no going back. That's the biggest shock in such a good way. It's a miracle.
About 25 people have said this, by the way. So I just highlighted Chris and Melinda, but about 25 people have said this. Reese, if you rewatch nothing else, rewatch your first video out and then compare it to your first live back from Clearwater. By the way, Kristen, if I had texted you, right, and said, please text this and put it up there, that's what I would have said. So thank you. That is a perfect comment.
What does she mean by my first video? The one with Aaron?
The first video you put up, the very first time you put up a video on YouTube, watch it and then watch the one that you did coming back from from Clearwater.
Okay.
Half of my audience reached out to me and said, have you seen this video? That's when I realized how many of the people on my channel actually watched your channel.
Oh, okay. I'll do it.
Hold on a second. How do you come to grips with people that were in your life so long, not talking to you so quickly? I think you may have touched on that early, but you don't, right? I mean, you don't. It's
you don't.
Is there massive amount of resentment? Is there resentment toward any of them, Reese, or is it aimed at the cult?
I don't know that I feel resentment. I don't know that that's the word. I don't feel angry. I don't feel hate. I don't feel angry. I think I've risen above that. At first I felt very angry. I miss those people very much. I miss them in my life. I now know that what we had was completely conditional and full of lies. You know, I miss something that doesn't exist. I miss something that was made up in my mind. You know, they don't care about me. They don't, a suppressive person is equated to Hitler. So they think of me as that. I mean, if someone called my father tomorrow and said, did you hear that she died? He would go, oh God, thank God. You know, I've been waiting for that. She was a horrible person. So I just feel sadness about it now. I don't feel, there's so many stories I have with those people. And so it's hard for me to just turn it into hate. I have my memories and
I get that. I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off still at all of the people that overdosed. I really am. Now, I know it's not their fault. I mean, I understand the disease, all the concept. I do this all day, every day. But there are days that I am so friggin' mad at them for leaving this planet, right? Without kind of going and clearing it with me first, kind of a thing. So Spanx Calhoun, right? If my old in-laws said to my son, we're not going to talk to you anymore because of this religion. Now I'm a convict and probably an idiot. I would go over there and kick that door in and then kick their heads in. And I would be really pissed. There's no way I would ever be able to get over that. I respect the fact that you've been able to, maybe it's because of how long you were in and you understand what they're going through, but I'm blown away by that. I think it's amazing.
There's one person, and I think that I hold a lot of blame toward, because he was kind of half in, half out, just mentally. Now he's been in for over 40 years, but that was my father-in-law, Doug. He was the closest person in my life. His wife, Brenda, and I were extremely close. But when I say close, I mean physically. He was at my house at least 4 days a week. He took Huxley every weekend. I never had a Thanksgiving with Huxley. He spent it with him. He was kind of our rock. I mean, Doug helped me financially when I needed it. He would have shown up at 2 a.m. if I needed him. He was just like my dad. He was very much like my dad. And he loves and loved Huxley so much. And I thought when Aaron told me what happened, I thought, I'm going to hang on to Doug. I know Doug won't leave us. Like, I know that he's going to fight. He's going to fight tooth and nail as much as he can. He won't just let us go. I had that built in my mind. I was like, at least I have that to hold on to. I know he's going to fight for us. And we never heard from him again. And that really, and he was so close to Huxley. And Huxley was not willing to accept that. Huxley, a couple of months went by, and he said, they wouldn't answer my calls.
They took Huxley's, didn't they?
Yes. And I couldn't listen to the phone call. I mean, it was so hard that you could tell that they had gotten to Doug. He had been totally drilled and trained at the point for this phone call. And he was a total robot. The emotion was gone. And Huxley is not, I cannot stress this enough, an emotional person. He's very matter of fact. He's just very black and white and strong. He's a strong-minded person. And he called Doug, and I mean, it was just immediate. He was like, like he just couldn't even. And I knew that there must have been so much deep-rooted emotion there for him to behave, for Huxley to react that way.
And let me guess, it was it's been a good 12 years. See ya.
That's what he said. He said, I've known you for 13 years, but this has come to an end. And he said, Huxley knows this. He knew the rules in Scientology. And he said, please don't leave us. He said, please, I can't leave my mom. He said, I can't disconnect, because Huxley would have to disconnect from me in order to stay in Doug's life. You've got to let one person go to make it work. And I just couldn't hardly listen. I was so upset watching my kid. He was just gasping for air. He couldn't even talk. And he was like, please don't leave us. He was like, don't leave my mom. And oh my God, Huxley's so smart.
Oh God.
Doug said, it's been a good time knowing you. He said, I've known you for this long. And Huxley is so profound. He said, I wish you would understand. He said, my mom didn't do anything to your church. Your church did something to my mom. And he said, I understand. I got it. He was like, understood. It was just very robotic. And it was horrific. It was so hard for me. It was heartbreaking, because also he didn't fight for us like I thought he would. And that was it. So that's the only person I think I hold resentment in my heart.
Just on the outside chance, that he catches this. Doug, you suck. I'm sorry. And you know what? I know it's a cult and I know it's all that, but you know what? I'm sorry. There comes a point, and I'm not trying to sound like a cool guy. I swear to Christ I'm not. But there comes a point where that doesn't fly anymore. And you just have to say, you know what? Hey, I went in and they said, you got to call that guy the N-word, right? And then you got to put a SWAT stick on you. And I said, no, you can just keep stabbing me. Because there's things in life that you just draw a line and say, I'm doing the right thing, right? So, Doug, you suck. Grow a set.
And honestly, I'm looking at it now. I'm glad I don't want him in our life. I think he's toxic.
I don't blame you.
And the beautiful thing about this is Huxley was asked on one of my lives once, and Huxley, thank God, is so strong and confident in himself. I really was worried. My biggest fear was he was going to blame himself and go, why did he leave? What did I do to make him? I thought it was going to be like a taking himself apart to figure out what happened. And I loved his confidence. Somebody asked him about Doug, and Huxley just said, well, they made their choice. Like, it was very like, it's not me, it's them. And I was so proud of that. I thought, oh my God, again, if I die tonight, like, I will die happy, because he is also on top of it and it's so strong. It just shows so much strength and his confidence in himself. And that's all I want for him, is to have self-esteem. And he wasn't shaken much by it. It was just somebody said, he's so cool. Somebody said, do you need a therapist? I have been trying to get him to see a therapist. And he always says, I will let you know, but I don't feel like I need one. And he says, I channel it through sports, mom. He's like, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good with my sports. And I talked to my therapist about it. And my therapist says the kid's great. If he says that and he's playing sports and he's making friends, like he's doing all the healthy things. He's not, a recluse.
Right.
So he's just, again, like, I don't care what happens to me. I'm just so proud that like he is where he is mentally. Because it could have gone in a much worse way, right? Could have been much worse.
Absolutely. He's also a 14-year-old boy, and I'll be really honest. When the Scoville boys, were from basically 12 to 20, we were just the world's biggest jackasses to my parents, my mom in particular. You know what I mean? Boys, it's an uncomfortable thing, unfortunately, but the teens, under the best of circumstances, are pretty tough, right? We were, holy God, my mom is a saint, and we had that. There was nothing like that. There was nothing traumatic, and we were just crappy kids. So, I think you got a really good boy, man. I really do. Seems like a great kid, and he can kick a 35-year yard field goal in 8th grade, which is pretty damn impressive.
You're really into that. That's pretty. It's a big deal.
It's just that you don't realize it's the same kind of wizardry that he did with his foot that you do at the show. The fact that you don't understand that doesn't make it any less wizardry either. That's such a. And if we got any football fans here, come on, man! Somebody do me a solid on this. 35 yards in the 8th grade. Somebody do me a solid. I know we got at least one football fan that's going to go, I'm sorry, what?
He broke the record.
Sweet Liberty. I wouldn't put any money on that. Listen, I really appreciate what you're saying. I was a pretty bad kid. I could tell you stories for days. I was a pretty bad kid. 35 yards is indeed quite impressive. Thank you. See? Guys and Dolls, you can't say that. It's my favorite musical. I'll bust into show tunes. I know more show tunes than any straight man in history. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Sorry, what was that? Thank you for responding to comment. That's how I meet people. That's how I meet. It is almost half a football field. Thank you. See, we're helping her pick this up. It's almost half a football field, right? It is also that distance from which, if you can hit every time, he'll take care of you for the rest of your life. You never have to worry about anything. Your son will be writing big checks to take care of Ma, because that's the throw-up zone. If you miss from there, all of the talk shows on Monday morning, people will be calling in about the kicker needs to be traded and he's a bum and all of that. But if you always hit from 35 yards, you'll always have a job.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll count on that. Wow.
True story. I can think of one of them by name. Oh, what a cool thing to say. I genuinely love you both so much. I love your hearts and your humor and your humanity. You're beautiful people inside and out. Wow.
Oh, I love Canood. Thank you, Canood.
That is such a kind thing to say. Yes. Can you say scholarship? Yeah.
I hope so. I think the kid's going to go far.
I do too.
Thank you, Stray.
This last year, most of the NFL kickers couldn't kick 35-yard goals. It's the truth. A rough year for it. I'm telling you that I don't think you realize just what a big deal he is. And by the way, for those of you wondering, he legitimately kicks it soccer style and all that. This was not a poke and hope. This is a kid that can go out and do it, which is just, yeah. You're right. Gronkowski level wizardry. There you go. Bills fan. Ooh. Yeah, too soon with me. Sorry, I got completely sidetracked. I apologize. Okay, so before I wrap this up, a couple more questions. Number one, there's been a lot of people talking about us maybe doing a road trip. Now you're not playing with my affections. We're gonna go and meet some people and do what we did in Florida. Are we not?
Oh, I really want to. It's a goal for me. It's like I want to make a career out of it. Yes. I would love to do that. I think that's what I said. Clearwater changed me. And then I went to Seattle and I met like 20 more people. And
and after you did that, I did the same thing somewhere else.
Yes.
Right. I just did the same thing.
It's so energizing, and it does something for the soul that I just can't quite. Meeting people in person is such a gift. Yeah, I hope we do it. Yes, yes, yes.
Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. You're rocking the boat. I promise I would never do that. It's a really good song. It's a show tune. You're so lucky I'm not busting into a show tune right now because I'm in the mood. Come to Wisconsin, says Yarn
like
Prepper.
crazy. I was singing like crazy on my last live. Yeah, I'd love to go to Wisconsin. I've never been to Wisconsin.
Do you know I keep your lives on in the background when I'm usually working on something else? And then someone will say something so dirty that I got to go over there and say something like, I'm sorry, did you just say Reese is taking her pants off? Or I'll say, did someone say boobs? But it's usually not because I'm sitting there waiting. It's usually because I'm doing something else and I've got it going in the background. Did you see that look? That was the I don't believe you. Cock my head to the side and look from one eye look. I recognize that. It was this one. I know that look. It's not
I wasn't
nice.
giving you side eye.
You were. Back that up,
No.
people. Can someone verify the side eye?
I was talking about boobs. I did say I was going to take my pants off. It's because I was hot, but yeah.
Yes, you are. But when I said that, you went, I'm telling you, I got the side eye. Silly squirrel, good to see you. Glad you're here. Sean's wifey, glad you're here. This has been
Laura Font, you are hilarious. This has been great, Tommy. I think we should do more serious subjects. I think you are perfect. I think you're a great interviewer. I would love to interview you sometime. I may not have the quite the questions. I'll have to write stuff down. Speaking of,
I would be fascinated.
Huxley's working out without a shirt on. I've never seen this before. Son, I've never seen you without a shirt on. Look at your chest.
That's the spirit.
Wow. He said it's hot in here. See, I was going to take my pants off. He took his shirt off.
It's getting hot in here.
Is that from doing 200 push-ups a day? You have like definition in your chest.
Listen to Mom. God. She's so proud.
Wow. Look at your tickets to the gun show. Holy cow. I had no idea. Wow, son. Oh my God.
My cat is chasing birds in her sleep.
Oh, that's cute. That's so cute when they do that. I
want you to know. I brought my white coat, just for the record.
Did you? Because
I did. I may have brought for.
What are you doing? What are you taking your shirt off? What are you doing taking your shirt off?
I was looking for my cat. I am. I was wearing a fur. If I don't, you thought I was taking it all off? No.
I thought you were unclothing yourself. Did you say something about a coat?
Just because it seemed like a more appropriate way to end, right?
You didn't read the SuperChats, though.
I'm going to. I intended to do them as my polar self. And guess what? You see the color of my shirt? It's Solonical across for all of my New York friends from Long Island. Look at but it's purple.
Polar porn. Oh my God, you got your hat from John Shamwowski. Oh, Lordy.
Tell me this. Look, does this not look like it was planned? All right, so let's do these things. What do you think?
You didn't tell me to get a cool hat, Tommy. That's not cool. I would have brought my crown down or something.
I thought that pretty much goes without. I mean, like I actually had to say get a smooth hat. Isn't that a like it should have gone without even needing to be said? Okay, hold on. We're gonna start stuff. Pardon me, new member. Thank you so much. Mary Melchard, new member. Donna, Wyoming says, come on, why is it slow? Friend tax for Tommy. Oh, you know what? That's right.
It's an inside joke thing. You don't know what it is. Yes,
I told you, you're on in the background at all times, Reese. I
am honored.
Yeah. Honor. Get honor. Stay honor.
Wow.
What? Anna, thank you so much. Kathy loves horses. Hey, Reese and Tommy, love you both. Well, thank you.
Tommy, I have to ask something. I'm kind of tired of asking you out on dates. It's getting old. I kind of wish that, maybe at some point you'd meet me in the middle here. But I already asked you the prom. That was bad enough. Do you think sometime that we could wear these coats and you could take me out on a date?
thought that that's what was happening on the boat. But aren't we doing an official like? This is my crown. I'm sorry, I'm not doing the tux. I'm doing the pimp. I'm gonna have the big cane, right, and the hat. Right, I'm gonna put on a really pimpy watch with some big gold. Yeah, no.
Say no more.
Bernice Dooley, thank you so much.
I'm going to throw that up on the highlight reel.
Where did you live when you were in KC?
When you were sent to KC, where I was in downtown Kansas City, so right close to the Oregon 36th and Broadway.
Saving it all for the lights of Broadway. Relatable Reese. I listen to you all the time, and every time I do, I learn something new about you, and you never cease to amaze me. I was telling her the same thing earlier, was I not? Reese's channel can't hear Tommy? That sucks. I hope that you have figured that out, people. If not, I will just come back and do it all over again. You busy? We could just start at the top. Hey, everybody, this is Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. We'll just start at the top. Chrissy Newton. Let's give Reese as many hugs today to make up for all the good energy and connection she missed out on. That's what the fur was for. I'll be honest with you.
That is so kind, Chrissy.
You haven't lived until you have hugged a 200-pound polar bear. It doesn't want to hurt you. Most polar bears are not nice. Dennis from Boston. It's worse than I thought. Thank you for sharing this, Reese. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Reese, you are such a bright light. Even when you are struggling, you radiate goodness. Oh,
that's so nice, Anne.
It really is. And you're welcome. I do like to keep things real. It's a gift. Danielle Illuminati. Nice. In November 2020, my boyfriend of 4 years passed from fentanyl. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for your losses, but also feel for Reese having to grieve the living. So much worse. It really is. I am sorry about your boyfriend.
Still, that's horrible about your boyfriend.
350 people today overdosed and died. It sucks, but that's the world we're in right now. Comment: I can't imagine not seeing Reese on almost a everyday basis. So for me, Aaron, outing you was the best thing to happen. I have said that too. I would have gone through a phase where I was. But you're a much nicer person than I am. I'm glad it happened. Do not get me wrong. But I would have wanted to do it.
Melissa. Oh my God, this is my OBGYN. She's going to answer all of our coot questions.
This is confusing though, because you're always showing pictures of hot doctor friends of yours. Which one is this?
This is Melissa, and she is a hot doctor friend. She's an OBGYN, and she's going to talk about our cooters and our cooter health. She's going to do a live with us about it. And cooter flaps. Yeah, you can definitely be there. So Melissa, I have got to get a hold of you. Everybody is wanting this live. They miss you, and we love you, girl. Thank you. Yes.
So better together. I think Reese's channel is her own personal protest to being silenced and controlled. F off into the forever is enough. Her. I agree. You know what? That's the first time I think we've met. I'm absolutely a fan. Absolutely, she is happy, and so are those of us who she has helped emotionally and mentally. Aww.
I love her. I just went to lunch with her, Dawn in Wyoming.
I'm jealous.
You know Dawn in Wyoming. Yeah, it was great.
I know, but I've never done there.
We talked a lot about you.
Lies. Joe Virus, good to see you. Dawn in Wyoming.
Love Joe Virus.
I do too. From Kelly B69, Reese, how did you treat Huxley? I think I may have called this one out.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm
glad that
I did not put him in the org. No, he did not do services.
Yeah, thank God. You two and Dr. Elizabeth Bates could do a live reaction video to one of Reese's early videos together so she doesn't walk this alone. You know what? I would be more than happy to do that with her. I would love that.
Yeah, I love our good Dr. Elizabeth Bates. She's a therapist I've had on. She's amazing. She's become a very close friend.
Nice. Hey, Chrissy over in Newton. I'm so excited for you both. Show hugs to Huxley. I think that would be a solid idea. I kind of like to hold the football for him, to be really honest with you. I'd like to see the kid kick. 37 years of hugs to help your missing good energy. I love it. I
That is
absolutely
really
love it.
nice. Thank you.
I genuinely love you both so much. I put this one up because I think that was so cool. I love your hearts and your humor and your humanity. You are beautiful people inside and out. Wow, what a cool thing to say.
I love Canoed. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. Loved meeting you.
Yes, I met her and she drove up from Portland. She drove 4 hours to meet me. She's
Well,
so amazing.
I've never actually done the big travel thing to meet you, but I will in the future, I'm sure. I
I hope you
kind of
do.
went to Florida to see you. I didn't
Kind
technically
of.
know you were. I didn't technically you were in there when I left to go there, but that's just a technicality.
Yeah,
I
but
knew
that
what
was
I was
amazing.
doing.
That really worked out. That was really wild that we were there at the same time. That was
Well, what
pretty
was
cool.
wild was when I said to my friend, I said, "Oh man, I would have loved to have gone up there. I know it's a really long way." He's like, "No, it's not." He's like, "No, no, we can get you up there." I wish you could see this. She's just swinging at me by accident every time she stretches. I'll show you in a minute. She's really on one. Reese is one singular sensation. I think that may have been in reference to my I know more show tunes than any straight man in history line. Pretty big fan of show tunes. Don't mock me. Don't judge me. Hello, Meryl West.
I
Thank
love
you so
Meryl. Thank you,
much.
Meryl.
Riding shotgun. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You are too kind. Marion Calabro. Love the name. Tommy, did you go to Sewanaka High School? You grew up in Floral Park. No, I did not go to Sewanaka High School. My best friend did. My father
Oh, that's
was
cool.
my dad was an All-American lacrosse player from Sewanaka High School. Went on to play college. Was a really amazing attack. This is actually the old man's stuff. But I know Floral Park. I know it well. And you know who else does? Our friend from New York. Where is he? He knows Floral Park. We were talking about it the other day when we were down in Florida. Hey, hater, stuff this in your hat, and you got to admit, it really does highlight the Sewanaka hat. Extremewski.
Elizabeth, you're
Absolutely.
hilarious.
You've both made big differences in my life. What a beautiful thing to say.
I
A
love
humbling
her.
thing
She
to
drove
say.
up from Portland. She's one that drove 4 hours to come up and meet me.
What an absolutely humbling thing to say. It really is.
Yeah.
And you know what
She's
this
amazing.
is? Check this out. Are you ready? Look at this. Hold on. We can. Oh, you see the cat in the back
That's
there?
so cute. Look at her little pawpaw.
It's covering her eyes. Hold on. I can do it this way too and get rid of me. And usually that makes.
Uh-oh. Yes, that's adorable, but we actually lost audio too. Oh my God. Uh-oh. Okay. We lost our host. Oh, there he is.
No, you didn't. I just scared the kitty and I had to take care of her. But that wasn't actually me. It was somebody that banged out there. Reese, this was an honor.
Sure was.
It really was. We clown a lot, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and do this. I will. I owe you one. We'll have to come over to your channel and crank up the
heat
dialogue.
Yeah, you'll pay me back.
You damn right.
You'll get
my
it.
word.
Get it. Mm-hmm.
I
Okay,
promise you.
guys. Seriously, this was amazing.
Yeah, this is. I can't remember. When about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I did a thing where I said I don't want to talk about that piece of crap rapist anymore. Sorry, I don't. And people said, well, there goes all your views. I said, I get a lot of views when I hang out with Reese. And given the choice of the two, I think I'd rather hang out with Reese.
Well, I mean, just so you know, the feeling's mutual.
Well, it's funny you say that. You two are just meant to be together as friends. You were both in Florida at the same time. You both reached 20,000 subscribers at the same time. And Tommy always pops in at the right time. How about that? Huh?
That is such a good point.
And you're all going to look right now for me because we've started doing this and this really, really has become an issue. Check right now to make sure you're subscribed to Reese and to me because it is astounding, right? My brother did a video on this earlier, right? And said, no notifications are going out, A, and B, they're not doing any of these things. And he picked up 77 subscribers on that video. And that's because they were all people who had been unsubbed. It's an epidemic. Over 100 now from that video. But people who all said, yeah, I've been unsubbed. Yeah, I've been unsubbed. Yeah, I've been unsubbed. Who else has a coat like that? Nobody. Just the two of us. You both look like going out to a cafe for coffee and to talk about philosophy, life. And then the fur came out and the cafe got weird. That's what I love about you both. Perfect.
We're going to go out in these coats. I want to go out and have a steak dinner in this coat.
Cruise ship. I'm telling you, when it gets really, really cold on the what do they call that deck? I don't know. Don't say poop deck. The other one. Yeah. Anyway, when we're walking.
Yeah.
Right. Late night, it gets very cold on the deck of a cruise ship. I promise you.
It's going to be special. Hey, there's Kai.
Yes. Man, that's an excellent watch collection. Kai, you want me to bum you out? Check this out. New acquisition. Actually, he's a fan. He should enjoy this. This is the newest acquisition.
Oh, it's a real watch? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. No, that is an Omega. There we go. It's a Speedmaster, and it's a triple date Speedmaster. He will appreciate that. Sorry, but he's a fan. The poop deck. Yeah, it sounds bad. Yes,
real
Kai,
connections really matter. So much love tonight. I love Kai. Thank you, Kai.
I had a really good time with him. I really did.
I did too. He's really a good guy.
And I'm looking forward to meeting all of the rest of you. Question: how long did you have a problem with meth?
A little over 2 years.
That's a long time. It really is. And I think my theory on this, I do like my watches. My theory on this is that you were dependent, not addicted, which is a good thing. There is a difference. There is a difference. And the way that you walked away from it and the way that you don't seem to have a problem with any other substance normally would lead people to believe that. You're probably dependent and self-medicating, but I don't think you're a drug addict. That's all right, though. We're not mad at you. You don't have to actually be a drug addict to hang out with us. Just makes it easy.
Thank you for clarifying. I was concerned.
Kidding. No, you're all right.
You don't have to be a Scientologist to hang out with me. So.
Well, that's good. Right? Yeah. Because I'm not joining. How long are those coats?
Down to my hip. They just wanted to get a glimpse at you.
It's far.
They wanted to see if you had pants on.
I'm not wearing pants. Did everybody know? I'm not wearing pants.
Wait a minute. What are you wearing?
A Matrix Rabbit. I have found Rolex is thrifting. You can. It does happen.
Did you just flash a knee? Hold on. What do you? What do you have? What are you doing? What are you wearing? I need to know.
I'm wearing a fur coat and a shirt that says Salonica High School on it. So
what's underneath that though?
Been nothing. It would have been way too. It would have been way too hot if I had on pants for this. I had to go pantsless. I would show you, but then they would definitely demonetize the video on that.
That's for our other channel.
Inappropriate says now shake it when you take it off.
Yeah. Of course you did. We're gonna set up our other channel for that. Boxers. If you remember,
I don't wear boxers.
You're gonna be my manager
give
for
Mama Scoville back her coat. You have no idea who Mama Scoville is. This coat would fit 5 Mama Scovilles. Mama Scoville's this big. She's not a tall woman. This is a very big coat for a very big dude. You know, this would cover the infield at Yankee Stadium. Flashing the leg with a fur coat, I did. Yeah, I almost went the Vin Diesel look from like what was it, Triple X? I was just gonna come in there bareback with it on.
I should have flashed a foot. You know, we're gonna save that for our other channel, though, Reese's Feetsies, and you're gonna be my manager. Yeah, you're gonna be my manager. Stay tuned, guys. There's more coming with
Mama Scoville. Mama Scoville, to her defense, Mama Scoville is slightly taller than David Miscavige, but not by much. You got him by maybe a half an inch. He's not a tall man.
Him's a little guy.
There's anything wrong with that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. He also has very small hands. and from what I understand, smells like cabbage.
Ew.
What I hear.
Okay.
It's a word on the tier. Guy smells like cabbage. Get mad at me.
Okay.
I didn't do it. Oh, you know what? This is the one we're going to leave. This is the one we're going to leave with. Because I love that one. Boy, I'm telling you what, Miss Dragon, she says she may not be tall, but she can give you boys what for. Oh, yeah. No, we're scared absolutely crapless of her. For real. We're in our 50s and still scared of her. Yeah. Papa Scoville was 6'4", 280 pounds. We were always way more scared of Ma. But that's Italian women.
Definitely feels right. Yes.
Yep. Love the
I love
outfits.
that Tony
Good. Guess what
Scooter.
we're wearing on the cruise? What's that? Yes.
I didn't know we were
too.
going pantsless though. Okay. I wish you would have told me.
First of all, I'm pretty sure I texted that, but nevertheless.
The no pants dance? No, I didn't know about that.
Check your texts. I think you might see a picture.
Okay. Oh.
All right. I'm glad somebody got the Austin Powers reference. Thank you. Thank you.
This was lovely, guys. Seriously, I want to say thank you. Tommy, you are a good host. You're a good interviewer. And I really enjoyed this. I love. Guys, Tommy and I talk all the time outside of YouTube, and he is such a close friend of mine now. And a day does not go by where I don't talk to him. So I am so glad we did this because it was kind of missing for us. And I would like to do more serious kind of healing content like that. I think it's necessary and people enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, this is really kind of in the wheelhouse for what we do. So it was I thank you for coming on and doing this, and I will happily come over and let you interview me. And you know what, truthfully, I have had the best interviews I've done without exception have always been from women. They just ask way different questions. Guys get super hung up on the whole convict thing. And you end up talking about prison for 3 hours. And when you talk to women, it doesn't go that way. So I would look forward to that, Reese. I really would.
Not with me anyway.
Well, good.
Okay. I'm going to stay on for a minute because I have to ask you a question. Will you please not leave?
I'm going to be right here. She makes it sound like I leave. I never leave. I'm going to be here. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Squirrel, don't go anywhere.
Thanks, guys. Love you all.
All right, people. You guys rock.